Hi, Brett. Hope you're enjoying your daddy duties today. I got out of mine because my mother-in-law is in town, so I got to sleep in this morning, which was super awesome. I highly recommend it. Anyway, so this is your video lesson for today. I got your message on what you would like me to talk about. I'll go ahead and give you a new box today. I'll check the other ones next week, and then if everything's good, what I'll do is I'll go through different steps I have for taking this information and making something musical out of it or something creative out of it. In the steps I use for that. So cool, let's get to it. So first thing is I've tabbed out the scale for you right here. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, why did you jump over box 3? And the reason why I jumped over box 3 is because I find that would be the hardest one to remember. This one I think people have an easier time with, so I usually go 1, 2, jump over 3, do 4, 5, and then come back and do 3 at the very end. So we kind of like we'll do like a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and then we piece them together. And then we're gonna go all over the place with it. So box 4 looks like this. You're gonna start on the B on the 5th string, on the 6th string. So B on the 6th string right here, 7th fret, 7, 10, 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, scooch in, 8, 10, 7, 10. And we talked about last time why that is, because you had to make a compromise years ago with the Spanish tuning, so the chords would be easier. So now we have to suffer for when we play melodic lines. So unfortunately, that's how it is. So what I would do in this is, for step number 1 with this, is what I call execution. Can you successfully execute this scale using different patterns? And can you be consistent with it and are both hands synchronized? So when I do this, I have to make sure that first off, I can play that scale without screwing it up. Can I do that scooching in part right there, that tricky part? Can I do that without dropping the ball? Right? Because if you're not consistent with it, if you go try to be musical with it, say in step 3, there's no point, because your fingers will be just jumbled all over the place. You won't know where to go. So I do a scale here, right? Once I can do the scale, then I throw a sequence in there. All right, back and forth, right? That's still the execution phase, right? That's me playing the scale in a sequence pattern and making sure that both my left hand and my right hand are talking to each other, right? Am I doing consistent up and down? The thing is that when you play something fast, you have to play it the same way every single time. If you just kind of throw whatever finger at it in the hopes that it'll land, yeah, you might nail it sometimes, but you won't be consistent with it. So to play fast, to play those fast lines that we're ultimately after, you have to be consistent with the fingering with the left hand and then the picking with the right hand, right? Is there an economy pick there? Is there an alternate picking there? You have to decide on what you're going to do. Step number 2 is hearing it. So once you have the mechanics of playing it down, the execution part of it, now you can really start listening to what the scale really sounds like, right? All right, ooh, that sounds like a home bass to me. This scale right here, this box, every one of the boxes has a corresponding chord that goes with it. We talked about that before. In box 4's corresponding chord, since E minor's relative major is G major, correct? Is the C form G chord, which is right here. I think we talked about that one time, right? Made G chords up and down the neck. C chord is a root 5 chord, which means that the home note of the chord is found on the 5th string. That's a C right there in the C chord. We take that shape and we move it up here to where the ring finger's on the 10th fret. We just swap these fingers out so we can get a bar here. Right? And so that shape goes along. That chord shape is hidden inside that scale right there. So what I would do is I might just put my looper, just me playing a G chord, right? Oops. Oops. And I'm just going to hear how that scale sounds against that chord. Ooh, sounds like a home bass to me. Make a note of that. Ooh, there's another home bass, right? It sounds like it blends nicely with the chord. What I'm doing is I'm listening to what sounds good to land on. That one not so it sounds unstable to me. That sounds better because anyway, though, that's one way I practice hearing the scale. Other way is I try to make the sequences rhythmic. So what I'll do is I'll take a sequence, I'll take the 3-note sequence, and that's not super exciting, is it? That's part of the execution phase. Like the sequence itself is just an execution. It's not music or anything, right? What we have to do is we have to make that rhythmic. And what you can do is, a trick I have to do is either double or triple the first note of the sequence, right? Doesn't change how many notes are in the sequence, necessarily how many different notes are in the sequence, but it changes the numerical count. So see if I start right here in the middle of that scale, 1, 2, 3, right? There I doubled the first note. Is it singable? Da 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 dum, 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 right? Can I sing along with it? If you can sing it, it's going to sound musical. If you can't sing it, chances are it doesn't have a nice musical direction to it, or the rhythm's off or something, right? You can triple the first note if you want. So I take that same 3-note sequence and I triple the first note. I can swing it. Right? Right? Double those notes. That's another thing. That's what you should do. And then different rhythms that you have. There are 3 basic rhythms that we can look at. One being an 8th note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I can play it like that. 1 and 2 and 3. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and you can go in any different tempo you want, how fast it is. 1 and 2 and, right? 1 and 2 and. Another kind of rhythm that you can use is a triplet, right? That's just a 3 feel. It's a even 3. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. The young kids, I teach them Dynas, or there ain't no shame in using those kind of devices to get rhythms down. I use them myself. I am not ashamed to use like some silly sayings or whatever just to get a rhythm correct. No problem. So 1 and 2 and is 8th note. You have a triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, right? The 8th note would sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Right? Sounds like that. Your triplet: 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So I'm practicing hearing the scale in different context, different rhythmic context that is, right? Either doubling a note or using a different rhythmic device, say a triplet or an 8th note. You can also use 16th notes. They sound like this: 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So 8th notes: 1 and 2 and triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. 16th notes: 1E and a 2E and a. So if I do 16th notes: 1E and up, 1 and up, 1E and up, 1 and 2 and there I switch to 8th notes. 1E and up, 1 and 2 and. Right? I kind of go, okay, what am I trying to do? What do I want to do with the rhythm? And I suggest playing around with these. This is the hearing part where you're just playing around with this stuff. Once you do that, then it's time for step 3, which is time to be creative, because you've already go, okay, my rules are I'm using E minor pentatonic box 4. I'm going to double the first note, and I'm going to use triplets, right? And then put rest in between, right? So I've given myself a set of rules to follow, because the problem, like I said before, is that there are so many devices that you can use. It's hard not to throw them all out at the same time. So even me, when I sit down to write, I have to give myself a set of rules that I'm doing, and then that way I'm not going to feel overwhelmed by, oh my God, I need to do all these other things, when really just focus on one thing at a time. Get good at these. Anything fast is rehearsed. When you hear guys play fast lines, they didn't whip it out on the spot like that. They practiced that. They practiced what I said before, being execution, being consistent with your playing, right? Or using the same fingers every single time. They sat down, they heard where they wanted the line to go. Like, which notes does it want to land on? What rhythmic device do they want to use? And then lastly, they sit down in creative time, which is maybe taking the simple chord progression in G, right? Which a lot of the songs that you play are in, right? So basically this. My rules are, I'm gonna do triplets, and I'm gonna double the first note. Well, actually, I'm going to double the first note, I'll do 16 notes. I'll double all the notes. That's another device you could do. So this is step 3, where it's time to be creative and compose with it, because now you've taken the rhythm, you've looked at the rhythm, you looked at the melodic direction, i.e. the sequences, and you're gonna see and stick that stuff together and make some interesting lines out of it. Now, divine inspiration really strikes me. It's about 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. So when you do this, when you sit down, this is the part that takes like 35, 45 minutes to see if you can tease out anything. Right? If you find something you like, you sit down and you write it down. That way you can come back and I've done it before where I've come up with something like that I thought was cool, and I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna forget that. And I sit down 10 minutes later to write it out and it's gone. So write them down, or record them on your phone. That's another good thing that you can do. Record the session, and then go back and listen to what you like and see if you can recreate it or write it down. Use themes. That's my theme. Have those destinations in mind, the notes that sounded good when you landed on them against the chord. But rest in different spots. Bum, bum. Boom, boom. It's still a 3-note sequence where I double the first note, but it sounds different because I'm using those rests in different spots. See, I'm just like playing around with it. You have to experiment with this stuff. You can't just get away with playing the 3-note sequence. So if you just play sequences, that's what you're gonna sound like. But if you practice doing it this way, where the step 1, learn the sequence, get it, nail it under your fingers, because you can't create with it if you're always trying to scramble to figure out what you're even trying to play. Step 2, make sure you hear these different rhythmic devices. Like, go through the scale, hear what what a repeated note sounds like in the 3-note sequence, what a different rhythm sounds like, the triplet, the 8th note, or the 16th note. And then step 3 is taking that, giving yourself a set of parameters with that information and seeing if you can create something with it or compose with it. That's a smart way of going about it, rather than just kind of throwing your hand at the scale and see what pops out. You can find that down at Guitar Center on Saturday mornings if you want to hear what that sounds like. But I would much prefer a more intellectual approach on how to write this stuff. All right, man, if you want to send over a video of you playing this for me, or anything like that, or want me to look at anything or any other questions, feel free to shoot it over and I'll do my best to answer. All right, man, take care.